We'd been together for 7 years when he was arrested, and I was still working at Lax when he got arrested.
I drove truck for the gas company, and when I wasn't driving truck, I was laboring. In other words, getting down into the holes and a little bit of everything for the gas company. They were sending me to foreman's school. I think that our lives probably would have changed quite a bit, because I mean, I was going from $11.50 an hour to roughly around $25 an hour with a company truck, and you know, all the benefits that a foreman would get. We
were trying to have kids, trying to get our life together, you know. Had apartments, we were looking for a house. We're trying to get, you know, settle in and start our own family. And then he got arrested.
On August 25, 1979, Christy Ringler died. That same day, Larry Pat Souter's life turned into a living hell. His hell continues to this day as the result of the misconduct by the officers of the Newaygo County Sheriff's Department and others. They ignored genuine leads as to how Christy died and put blinkers on themselves to create a tunnel vision that left no room for truth and justice. They convicted an innocent man of murder, hid evidence that would have shown his innocence, and have grimly continued to this day to run from the truth. This is the story of a county's shame. Larry Pat Souter was convicted of second-degree murder in 1992 and sentenced to 20 to 60 years in prison. Ever since then, his family has been working hard to prove that he is actually innocent. All that time, the Sheriff's Department of Newaygo County had evidence in its files which would have proven his innocence.
They got on the witness stand, the sheriff of Newaygo County, the then sheriff, he was under sheriff when Larry went to prison, testified in court that we had everything they had. We had everything that they had, and there was nothing that they had. They had given us everything, and years later we find out that wasn't the case. There was a lot that they hadn't given us.
Mr. Graeser, to your best knowledge and your experience, what happens with any kind of cut in the facial area or head area?
Oh yeah, they bleed profusely. Profusely. I didn't quite see the significance of clothes being soaked in blood, how that played in.
According to them, they never received any photographs, that's why I asked you, of any of the clothing being soaked with blood.
Prosecutor gave the argument and offered testimony from, among others, Deputy Foster, that she was found on the road. Her clothes were not disheveled. They were not torn or in any way damaged, and most particularly that there was no blood on them. They were not blood-soaked or even mildly saturated with blood. Of course, we had the distinct disadvantage here of having no clothes to see. We encountered this problem several times in the trial, and it was the kind of knee-jerk explanation that was always given was, well, you remember this is an old case, that various pieces of evidence, clothing, some photographs, other things that never materialized in the course of the trial were simply gone as though they had evaporated in the course of the time that had elapsed between the event and the day that we were in the courthouse.
What photographs do you think they're referring to?
The only ones that I can, here's ones that show clothing soaked in blood. They have to be referring to these. I can't imagine that they weren't made available.
Blood-soaked clothing that was absolutely consistent with the injury being suffered at the site where she was found, that the underside of her clothing was soaked with blood. Not only were we not provided with a description of that, we were told the opposite. We never saw the photographs. I have to go back to what I've said before. Did that affect the way that this case came out? There can be no serious question that it did. Of course it did.